And Guidry goes, let's go look at something that took place 40 years ago. Who cares? Okay, that's political.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and whenever it is that you're tuning in and joining us for the show. Welcome to the Lawyer's Den. I'm William Tresemont, your host, and on behalf of International Broadcast Media, IBM TV, I welcome you this evening. Now, as you know, we always get started with one of my favorite parts of the show, and that is to introduce my erstwhile friend, my colleague, my mentor, my associate, and that is a gentleman who, after receiving his BA and his MBA, eventually went on to receive his LLM. Now, while that's normally a story, what we don't know oftentimes is, in fact, he was a 3-time state champion at chess, earning him a title prior to even getting to college of a chess master, which is a title very few people have. Now, along the way, he achieved his legal education through Oxford and then ended up over at the University of Denver, where he earned his LLM. Thereafter, he engaged in the practice of law, teaching as a professor for approximately 11 years, authoring over 24 books, as well as being the CEO and founder of at least 6 startups. And so with that, my colleague, my friend, somewhere out there in the verse is Nick Palavita. Nick, welcome to the Lawyer's Den.
Well, I've been here before, and I brought my fan club with me. It's a good thing to do.
Good. How are you,
Okay.
Nick?
I'm doing great, but I'm always doing great, Bill.
Excellent.
Okay, you should know that by now. But the good news is we actually have some great people on our panel today, and we're going to bring our first one in, who's a graduate of the BYU University School of Law. He also went to receive his master's in law, so he has an LLM from George Washington University, and now is a assistant attorney general in the state of Utah. Let's bring in our constitutional scholar, Jeff Teichert. Jeff, welcome to the show. And he tried to keep me out of trouble, but that didn't work. But that's the way it goes. In the meantime, this person...
You did pay your bill, though, so...
That's true. That's the way out. This person also went to law school. He went to Fordham University School of Law. Then he went on to the State University of New York at Buffalo. And then after he received his law degree from Buffalo, he went back to New York City to practice law as a street fighter. Let's bring in our street fighter trial attorney, Fernando Leal. Fernando, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. Nice to see you guys.
I can't believe you're back. That's amazing. Okay.
I like a good fight.
Oh, well, there is one here, and we want to thank all of our new listeners on Twitch and LinkedIn. Apparently, we're broadcasting through them today. And this person also broadcast a lot. He actually traveled a lot, starting off at the University of Southern California. That is the other USC. The USC in the South is University of South Carolina, by the way, for those who don't know. Then he went to receive his law degree at The Ohio State University, then went on to receive a master's at Alabama, like he follows all the football schools. Then he made a mistake, went to the New York University School of Law, received his LLM, now is a professor at Georgia College. Let's bring in our professor, Adam Lamparero, the professor.
Great to be here.
We have to have our resident professor, somebody who actually teaches this stuff. And then we're missing today Guidry, who also has an LLM from the University of Denver, but she's the class act, and she's a she. She'll be showing up about 15 minutes late. So for those who want to join us in 15 minutes, hopefully she'll be here. But in the meantime, we got to talk to Bill and find out what are we going to be discussing today. Bill Tresemont, who also is an attorney, believe it or not, a den master, and went to Fordham University and State University of New York at Buffalo. Our only den master, Bill Tresemont, is going to tell us what the discussion is today. So, Bill, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, listen, tonight's going to be a feisty one. It's not like we haven't touched upon these topics or we are scared of attacking these subjects. But tonight we have cancel culture, thought police in the 21st century, and what is going on at Yale Law School. Now, for those of you that are joining us for the very first time, generally we often begin with our subject matter expert, and that is one of us that kind of gives the rest of the audience a briefing so that we are all in play, and then we get into the actual meat and potatoes of the matter. And tonight, hailing from Georgia, by way of his illustrious career, we have our professor, Adam Lamparello. You are our subject matter expert. Can you give us the introduction about what's going on at Yale Law School, all this other stuff, cancel culture, 21st century thought police? Adam?
Sure. This involves a second-year law student at Yale Law School who is a member of the Native American Law Student Association and the Federalist Society, a conservative society. This student sent an email out to the entire second-year class advertising a party that he was having that was co-hosted by the Native American Law Student Association and the Federalist Society. In that email, he said that they're going to have a party at their newly christened trap house, and that they were going to have Popeye's chicken and quote-unquote basic bitch American foods. On the basis of this email, 9 students at Yale Law School complained, saying that the email was racist. As a result, this student was summoned to the Diversity and Inclusion Office, and he recorded the conversation with Yale's administrators in which they pressured him to apologize for his apparently racist language, and they said that his membership in the Federalist Society was triggering for some students, and that if he was white, it would have been worse. But they also said to remember that he has a character and fitness exam to pass upon taking the bar exam. So essentially they pressured him to apologize. He didn't. This set off a firestorm at Yale about the role of race, diversity, and inclusion in our society and at the law school.
Okay, a couple of quick questions, just because I want to get the stage for our audience, which, as you know, Adam, is worldwide, so maybe they're not familiar with all the terms. I just want to run through quickly without opining on anything. Tell us what a trap house is.
A trap house traditionally was known as, historically, as a crack house, okay, where people did crack. But it's informally known as a place where young people gather to drink alcohol, similar to a fraternity house.
Okay, so then my understanding is that within this context, you have white students referring to their local watering hole as a trap house, as kind of being cool with the vernacular. Do I have that correct?
That's right, but in this case, it was a Native American student.
Okay, all right. And I see the byline there that has just popped up on the screen. Without necessarily using that, can you define what that generally means within a cultural context and why that's an issue here? That an American.
Some people claim that the use of the word trap house, since it can refer.
Not just trap house, but American blank food.
Well, some people would argue that statement is racist. I would disagree. But that they consider that since members of the black community often eat Popeye's food, that a mere reference to it is racist, and that American bitch food was somehow a racist connotation too. That was what caused all this controversy because it.
Okay. No, I hear you. I just want to get the definitions down, though, first. And next, for our audience out there that does not know, tell us what the Federalist Society is.
The Federalist Society is comprised of law students, lawyers, law professors, and justices, including Justice Samuel Alito. It's typically considered a conservative society that advances conservative views regarding, for example, constitutional interpretation and public policy. However, the society is not full of all conservatives. It is fairly diverse, but it's generally known as a conservative organization.
Okay, and one final question, Adam, and I want you've been doing yeoman's work so far, and that is this, because it's going to become important. What is this whole character and fitness portion of the bar, and how does that? I mean, just tell us what the relevance is of that, what it is, and then what the relevance is.
Sure. When you graduate from law school, you have to take a bar exam to become a licensed lawyer. In addition to that, though, you have to pass what's called a character and fitness exam to ensure that you have sufficient moral character to be worthy of being in the legal profession. That's why you have that exam, and it's designed to identify people who, either through prior criminal acts or other acts involving deceit and fraud, may not be suitable for the legal profession and the representation of clients.
Okay. So I'm going to get back to the summary of where we are, but right now I just can't help myself, Adam. I mean, are you legitimately telling me that in all 50 states there is there's a prong of entrance to becoming a lawyer and getting your license to decide whether or not you're a slime ball?
In 49 states, in Wisconsin, there is no bar exam required. I'm not sure if they require a character and fitness exam. I assume they may, but I know for a fact in 49 out of 50 that is the case.
Well, then, Adam, I guess the obvious question is how come so many people actually became attorneys if there's this character and fitness test? But don't mind me. Listen, and I'm going to get to you, Nick. But fine, Adam, just to summarize. So we have a second-year law student. He sends out this email advertising a party saying that they're going to celebrate the Constitution Day. He's Native American and belongs to Native American Law Students Association. He's also a member of the Federalist Society Conservative Group. He uses American bitch food. He uses Trap House. And suddenly he's called in to by the administrators at Yale Law School, and people file complaints. Do I have that correct?
You do.
Fine. Okay, let's start off. Nick, I'm gonna go right down the line. Nick, Jeff, and then Fernando. Nick, please start off with what's going on.
Stupidest case I've ever heard in my life. But now I'm going to tell you why, Bill, Adam, and everybody. Okay, let's take a look at Yale Law School, for example. These people that are insensitive because they use these words, they're falling over themselves. Trap house. 31% of the people in Yale didn't even know what that is. I didn't know what it was until yesterday. Popeyes. We got Popeyes all over the place here in the South. What's the big deal? American bitch food. Well, so he doesn't like American food. So what? All right. But this is the thing that's disgusting. 9 Yale law students complained about that. Oh, I'm hurt. My feelings are hurt. So I did research on Yale law students. Where do they come from? You'll love it. 20% of the people that go to Yale come from families that earn over $800,000 a year with net worths over 10 million. 20%. 70% come from families that earn over 200,000 a year. All these people, 90%, are rich lowlives, and their feelings are hurt because somebody used the word trap house and Popeyes. Let's go to the dean and complain about the student. The American student did the right thing. Tell him to go take a hike. Tell Yale to take a hike, okay. And that's where they belong. So that's my opening statement.
Jeff, remember lightning round. Where are you? What's your initial impressions on this issue?
My initial impression is that I believe in free speech. I think that a diversity of views ought to be respected in a law school, even on informal matters like a party. And I don't condone any racist language. I don't exactly see how this was racist. Maybe somebody on the panel can explain that to me. But I don't see why we drag somebody in to a thought police tribunal to have to defend themselves when I think all they're doing is trying to advertise a party and they're being funny and informal and whatever.
Okay. So Jeff, you think this is part of cancel culture then, or no?
It seems like it to me.
Okay. Fernando, your thoughts, please.
Look, my thoughts were expressed perfectly by Ruth Marcus, deputy editor of the opinion page at the Washington Post, where she said Maoist re-education camps have nothing on Yale Law School. The bottom line is that we have way too many thin-skinned, soft people. My generation did a really crappy job of raising kids because all of them were taught to be mediocre. They were all taught that if you fail, it's okay, you're still great. And none of them could take any kind of criticism without falling up into a ball and sucking on their thumb. Nothing this may be sophomoric humor, it may be stupid, it may be whatever you want, but it shouldn't be so-called triggering, which I have an issue every time that word is used because it's being used incorrectly. It's not triggering anybody to anything. It's not, it's a term for mental illness where people who have serious mental issues, when there's an event, it actually triggers an actual visceral physical problem. These kids weren't triggered. They're a bunch of crybabies. Is the issue here, and nothing here that was said should cause the level of interference from the school.
Okay, now, Adam, you are SME, but now we've taken off the unbiased hat and have at it. You have the floor, Adam, please.
I don't even recognize the country that I grew up anymore. Our country has become so pathetic with the woke culture, the cancel culture, and the snowflakes. This situation is so utterly ridiculous. Those who champion diversity and inclusion, they are the true racists. They are the ones who are saying that white males are oppressors. They're the ones engaging in discrimination and stereotyping in hiring and university admissions. They're the ones who are dividing by race and promoting group identity rather than individual integrity. It's disgusting, it's racist, and it's wrong. They want to promote this narrative that black people are so oppressed, right? Well, is Don Lemon oppressed? Bill, you have a nice background. Are you oppressed? Was O.J. Simpson oppressed when he was acquitted of murder charges? Is Colin Kaepernick, with all of his millions, oppressed? Was Barack Obama and Michelle Obama oppressed? It's ridiculous. This narrative is undermining education. It's teaching people not to think analytically. It's dividing the country, and it's wrong. I believe in racial equality, not racial division.
Okay, fine, Adam, and I'm just going to start with you, and then we're going to go right around the horn. I just want to ask this question. Adam, now, are you suggesting, and I get the point of your argument is, outside of the spurious nature of just identifying individuals, are you suggesting that this cancel culture is just from the left wing? I want to be clear about this. Yeah?
Yes. I'm saying that it's primarily from the left wing, and I point you to nothing. I point you to Loudoun County School District in Virginia and the nonsense that's going on there. I point you to the inculcation of critical race theory in schools. I point you to people saying all white people are racist. I point you to people saying capitalism is racist. It's disgusting. And it's wrong. I believe in liberty, equality, and opportunity, which is available to people of all races if they make the right choices.
No, I get it, Adam, and I swear to God that you are a fantastic poster child for a fire hose set of arguments. You just turn on the fire hose and don't let anybody else argue. Let me just ask you about a couple of things. Are you saying that the right wing has not canceled out their own people by, say, for example, shutting up or seeking to silence or shaming those members of the right wing that do not agree with the approved right wing visionaries? Welcome, Gidry, right on time. Adam, answer my question.
I'm sure that there's people on the right that do the same thing, but it's wrong no matter who does it.
Okay, no, fine. Now, are you saying that this reaction, even though, say, in the Yale Law School case, you might see as a bit extreme, are you saying that there is never a time when raising a voice and saying, hey, pointing out this kind of conservative viewpoint as being a hostile, whether it's in the educational field, ever exists? You deny it completely?
No, the time to do that is when you are in an environment that welcomes diverse perspectives of people of all races and backgrounds and that promotes civil discourse, not this identity politics where you're judging people based on their race. That is racism, and diversity and inclusion advocates and the far left are the racists of today.
Okay, listen, for our audience, Gidry, welcome to the Lawyer's Den. You're kind of hot in the middle of this. We're coming to you, but I just want to, I got one more thing for you, Adam, because I'm just really curious, because I was doing some homework on this too, and it seems to me, I just want to see how you react to this, because I'm really concerned, Adam. Down at, are you familiar with Coosa High School down in Rome, Georgia?
I am not.
Okay, well, down in Rome, Georgia, your neck of the woods. I think it's down in Floyd County, Georgia, just 12 days ago. Let me tell you what happened. Okay, so you had a group of students who were filmed waving the Confederate flag and hurling racial slurs on school property at Coosa High School down in Rome, Georgia. Now, they didn't face any repercussions. Now, get this, Adam. Just amazing. Remember, only 12 days ago. So in response, a mixed group of students, some black, some white, got together, and they were going to plan a protest. This is what happened. The school administration got wind of this plan, and they suspended the black students planning the protest. They did nothing to the white students who were planning the protest. And not only that, the school administration went over the loud horn and had the following quote, Adam. Quote, "The administration is aware of tomorrow's planned protest. Police will be present here at the school And if students insist on encouraging this kind of activity, they will be disciplined for encouraging unrest. Now, these were students that were planning a protest in response to the students that carried a Confederate flag and hurled racial slurs on school property. And there were no repercussions to them. And instead, these black students were thrown out. I mean, it's all over. It's what CBS reported down in Georgia. And according to this, down in Floyd County, it's made up of 70% white people, 14% black people, and 8% Hispanic people. Now, it just seems to me that in that educational environment, if you are so for making sure that the rights of the minority are not abridged, why don't you just go over to Cosa High School and advocate for the 8 black students that got suspended just for planning a protest, Adam?
I would be happy to advocate for the black students. That's a despicable situation. It's wrong. And you're citing an isolated example, though. Let me tell you about this.
Well, you're citing an isolated example.
I haven't even been able to speak.
When you point out Barack Obama, that's
well. Even let me finish. Do you want to talk to Princeton University about the MIT professor that they disinvited? The University of California, Berkeley, how they the safe spaces on campus, the black-only dorms, that white people are all oppressors. I think that we've got, examples far more vast and wide of discrimination against whites.
I know. You see, and I understand that's your fire hose. Now, Nick, can we introduce Guidry? Guidry, welcome. I'm glad you made it. Nick, Guidry, please.
We already introduced her.
Okay, so the floor.
Yes, Guidry has the floor.
I apologize for being late. Miami traffic could be horrendous. I will agree with both Will and Adam. I think that we've been having this tradition of pick and choose based on the mood, based on the place, based on what's trendy, which side to take off. I think that, yes, we do have an issue. We do have an issue with cancel culture or more panic in regards to saving our morality. But I will admit with both of you that it's not the way to resolve it, because even your conversation that we had, your verbal exchange that we heard 2 minutes ago really didn't get us anywhere, because Bill stands for one side and Adam listens only to another side. Whereas the picture of it, what we see is actually we see picking and choosing when to advocate for one view or another. But the reality is true. I think that there is something wrong, and there is a meat in that saying of the cancel culture, because everyone is so sensitive. I do believe in a chilling effect, and I do think that unpopular speech should be also allowed. As Jeff mentioned before, and I really liked it, only more speech can advocate or could fight for bad speech. And right now we are moving against the First Amendment, against something that America stands for. And I definitely see the big thing there.
Okay, Jeff, Fernando, and then we're coming back to you, Nick. Jeff, please.
Where I went to law school at Brigham Young University, as some out there will know, it is a church-sponsored institution, and there's a disproportionately lower number of women that plan on having careers outside the home because of the religious sponsorship of the institution. As a result, BYU Law School doesn't get a huge number of female applicants. Now, the American Bar Association came in and they told BYU that if they didn't start admitting more women, they were going to take away their ABA accreditation. So in my law class, they admitted every woman that applied. 8 of them washed out after 1 year because they admitted a number of unqualified people. Now, I'm not going to suggest that this is never a concern other places. I'm just telling you at BYU there was no discrimination going on. I am also going to say that the ABA, American Bar Association, does not want or allow for diversity among law schools to each have their own perspective that they might teach. I will say this also. This is real important stuff, because if the ABA removes the accreditation of your law school, and they do it for blatantly political reasons, make no mistake, you can't become an attorney if you graduate from that law school, because Adam may correct me, but in virtually every state, to become a member of the bar, you have to graduate from an ABA accredited law school. And so the ABA has a certain amount of government power. I think the states really ought to eliminate that requirement and come up with their own way of accrediting law schools, as opposed to having a politically far left organization doing it. Because what they impose on the law schools in terms of values, in terms of their political point of view, and all of the stuff they believe, they're forcing that on law schools, and law schools are forcing it on the students. And, you know, Bill was sort of laughing about, you know, how many lawyers there are that have had to go through a character and fitness exam. I don't think you should judge an entire profession by 600,000 or 700,000 bad apples. But having said that, I think we need diversity. We need diversity among law schools. We need Yale and BYU and Notre Dame and Harvard and, you know, University of Idaho, all to have their own perspective and their own way of teaching the law. And I think we'll have a more diverse legal culture if we do that.
Okay. Fernando, are you leaning towards Guidry, or are you going to get into the scrum with Adam and I? Because I'm going to hand Adam over to Nick in a minute. But Fernando, where are you at?
Yeah, first thing I have to say, I wish I would have known that BYU was having those issues, because I would have applied as a woman. I would have gotten in a lot sooner. You know, I guess 2020 hindsight is 2020.
Fernando, I think it's not how it works. I think you need to have a few more things to be accepted as a woman.
What a sexist thing to say.
So Idri, don't worry about it. I would have done whatever I needed to do to check off all the boxes.
Yeah, there was that show with Tom Hanks and the other guy.
Yeah, Bosom Buddies. That's what I was thinking about. Bosom Buddies.
That's right.
Okay. Look, both sides do it. We can sit here and hem and haw and say how it's only the liberals that do it, but the reality is that both sides do it. Just anything that comes out of Pat Robertson's mouth, we'll just do it that, because there's just way too many examples of how he tries to cancel things. If you're a Republican and you're anti-Trump, they try to silence you. Look at the former vice president's daughter. She got kicked out of what was it, Congress or the Senate, or whatever position she has. I forgot. Cheney's daughter. This goes side to side. It's not just an A side or a B side.
Okay, well, no, Fernando, let me ask this, and I don't mean to be, persnickety about this issue, but it seems
that you're going to be.
Of course I am, Fernando. It seems to me that, when we're in the sandboxes, which is what you're describing with both the right and the left, I mean, isn't there some value to say who started it first? And if the right wing started it first, shouldn't the left side or the left wing fight back?
Issue is that's a chicken and an egg argument. You have no idea who started it first. I can sit here and come up with a bunch of examples of how the left started it, and you're going to come up with a bunch of examples of how the right started it.
Fine. Then why can't I legitimately sit here like a complete lunch bucket and say, I won't stop until they stop, Fernando? Why isn't that a way out of this? And then, Nick, I'm coming to you.
Oh, you can. And then the other side's going to do the same thing. Me personally, I say that people should be able to say whatever they want to say. And if you can't handle it, put your fingers in your ears. And the truth is, what happened at Yale University, it wasn't forcing him to give an apology, wasn't the remedy. It wasn't threatening to keep him from becoming an attorney. It's, look, find those 9 students, bring them into a room, and have them all sit down and talk it out. But guess what? Those 9 students aren't going to do that. Okay. They aren't, because they're a bunch of...
Okay, you go ahead and say it. Snowflakes, right, Fernando?
No, I was going to say they're chicken shit. Okay. And they're going to go run and hide behind their computers and their keyboards, because they're keyboard tough guys.
Okay,
when you actually have to show up, you're not going to.
Okay, Nick, I do have a question, because I mean, listen, you're a man of letters, as they say in the legal system, as are all of my other colleagues. The issue here, though, Nick, isn't it an implicit threat when a second-year law student is called into an administrator's office and said that, hey, listen, you've got to, I'm paraphrasing here, we wanted to give you a 360-degree kind of view of the subject, and you will be taking the bar at some point in time in the future. Isn't that an implicit threat, Nick?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, it was horrible how they handled it. But if you look at, again, Look at the demographics of this particular law school. Talk about elitism on steroids, the Yale Law School. The Yale School in general, they have the Skull and Bone Society. We have our Federalist Society. I did some research in that. I never joined it. You know why? I'd graduated from law school by the time they formed this idiotic society. Federalist Society. We're going to go back and do all these conservative, stupid things. And then to make, and I thought this was the stupidest thing I ever heard, till Jeff came up and said the ABA attacked BYU for not having enough women when women occupy more student slots than any other group in the United States right now. And so why'd they attack BYU? It's absolutely ridiculous. But we're seeing these stupid things happen with law students and law schools like Yale. How can you have any trust in the system that continually ranks this school to be number one in the country when 90% of the population that goes to that school have incomes of 200,000, net worth over 10 million, incomes over 800,000? Talk about a bunch of crybabies.
Okay.
Get rid of it.
No, and I hear you making the argument that that's a first world problem, Nick, but I want to follow up with you. And I know this subject matter to be near and dear to your heart. And that is how we are educating, our next generation. And you rightfully point out that this is the creme de la creme at these schools. And if these kinds of arguments are going on at these elite institutions that are supposed to be the leaders of the leaders in our society, I mean, what do you make of that, Nick, in terms of what the future holds? Because certainly if our panel is representative and we're out there doing the work as lawyers, we're certainly not bothered by any of this stuff. Nick, I mean, are we miseducating the lawyers?
No, the system is corrupt from day one, Bill. First of all, when you say creme de la creme, baloney. What it is it's everything is based on Northeastern establishmentisms. For example, ETS that creates the SAT, the LSAT. Remember, going to law school, they look at two metrics: grade point average, LSAT, cross index, and you're in. And all the people that are in the elite Northeastern schools know they have to study hard from the time they're little children to do well on the LSAT. In other words, you have to continually work it. And what is it? It's a bunch of word game puzzles. It has nothing to do with your knowledge of the law, nothing to do with your creativity. So what you're doing is you're graduating all these drones out of law school. And Yale is just one drone graduation group. So it doesn't surprise me that they would make such a horrendous error and to go after somebody who uses these words and think that, it's horrible.
Okay. Now, Adam, I'm coming to you, and I want you to understand the reason and the basis that I'm coming to you for, because it's the first time that I'm ever doing this in the long history of the Lawyer's Den. And I'm coming to you for perspective, Adam. How does that make you feel?
That could be a mistake. But go on.
I have faith. I have faith in my comrade, Adam. Adam, you have been at some of the top tier schools, the Ohio State University, the University of Southern California, NYU, Alabama. I mean, you have seen how your cohorts at the various institutions where you've earned your various degrees are educated. I mean, how are you looking at it, Adam, when you see this kind of, how would you characterize this at Yale? A travesty? How would you characterize what's going on at BYU? I mean, what's your perspective on it, Adam?
An absolute disgrace. And let me give some perspective, because this panel is missing the forest from the trees.
Remember,
higher education, instead of training people how to think, are coddling the minds of young people. They are making them victims. They are catering to their every whim instead of teaching them how to deal with adversity, how to respect diverse viewpoints, and how to make good choices for their lives. They are creating people who will fail in the real world. Now, I'm all for diversity, but diversity means respecting diverse perspectives and respecting individuals of all backgrounds. At Yale, diversity and inclusion advocates are doing the opposite. They are the racists, because I will tell you this. The associate dean sent out an email after the meeting with that second-year law student apologizing for the racist language in his email. And you see it at universities all over the country. Statements like, whites are oppressive. There's a black-only space on campus. There's safe spaces here and cry closets there. Whites are privileged. Okay. That is racism. And what's happening is it's destroying the American mind and coddling students who will have no chance to become critical thinkers and leaders of tomorrow.
Okay, Deidre, I'm coming to you, but I mean, I'm throwing a flag. I'm gonna do my drive-by on Adam, and then Deidre, yeah, I'm gonna hand it over to you while I calm down. And that is simply this, Adam. I mean, why can't I? I mean, frankly, after 400 years as a person of color, I mean, people of non-color, and I'll call that gently, of which I'm also a part of, have been getting away with literally murder. And so why now, when we start to raise our voices, and I'll admit that I move back and forth through whatever group I need to move through, but why can't we now get up and say, hey, enough is enough, and now hear our voice without now being shouted down after 400 years of legitimate oppression that you cannot erase? And I don't see it as unfair. And why can't I have that moment in the sun right now, so to speak, Adam?
Because you're embracing discrimination, and discrimination is wrong. All voices should be respected, Bill, not just people of color or white people.
Okay, well, I happen to think that it's empowerment. But Deidre, you're my voice of reason in here. Deidre, you want to chime in, please?
Well, in this particular
Deidre, you don't have to if you don't want
no,
to.
Adam, I side by you actually. Like I do think that the statements that were given by Mr. What's his last name? Eldick, basically saying that offering fried chicken as a food for that meeting that took place that was supposed to take place in Yale University that we discussed in the very beginning, that it is discriminatory and racist for the reasons that the majority of African American or big part of African American population suffers from malnutrition, eating similar food and so on, and it affects them being more poor and more health, and it goes to the economic effects. So I think that, you know what, it's almost sounds like someone is sitting down and trying to figure out and find how to attack that person, or how make the bigger point, because at this point we should not forget that the situation took place in university. It should be the most open, welcoming forum for the students. And what surprised me, the students said, hey, I'm going to talk to those people face and face, to the students that didn't like what, the invitation, what I said. And the professors, the main people running the programs in such a prestigious university said, no, we need to apologize. I will apologize because I'm afraid of losing my job. Probably that was his reasoning. And I see a big problem, because we actually, Bill, I will agree with you. We have to have conversation. There has to be certain reconciliation with what has been done to African Americans in the history of the United States, but this is not the way to do it. I think this is the wrong way, and it divides the people. It sends very, very bad message, and it also creates a chilling effect, because I'm not that comfortable ordering fried chicken or telling someone, hey, let's go have fried chicken for lunch, because maybe it might be racist. I really do think that it's too extreme, and it
well said, Deidre.
All right, Fernando, I want to change the racial background. What if we had a background that was not African American based? I mean, what if it was any other culture, Asian, either Mexican, Cuban, Dominican, Puerto Rican, any of those things? I mean, do you see discrimination against any of those groups? Because, I mean, perhaps it's just African American. Well, maybe that's just too incendiary. And after all, the person involved in this was a self-described Native American. So, Fernando, does the ethnic group change your way of thinking about this or not?
No. I mean, look, each ethnic group that you ask, depending on who you're talking to, some will say yes, some will say no. I can tell you, if you're talking to Cubans, for the most part, they're going to say no. If you're talking to Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Asians, they're probably going to say yes. If you're talking to me, no. Just because you have a right to now speak, that doesn't mean that your right supersedes other groups, and now you tell them to shut up, and that they can't say certain things, and that they can't act in certain ways. You can say whatever you want, but that other group can say it too. And if you can't take it, put your fingers in your ears.
Okay. Nick, and then Jeff. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have a real problem with this case, and also the case that took place at BYU. And I've got a real problem about Popeye's chicken. Okay, if I was the kid, and I have to hand it to the kid who said, no, I'm not going to apologize.
Right.
What he really should have done is say, okay, we're going to have a meeting. No problem. He should have bought his barrel of Popeye's chicken to the meeting. Okay, I mean, the thing is, these administrators, it's Yale Law School, are the ones that need to be slapped for this one. Why don't they lose their ABA accreditation over this one? No, instead, the ABA runs to BYU and said, oh, you don't have enough women students. We're going to threaten your accreditation. Go threaten Yale. Tell them for this type of administration, they need to remove some of the administrators. If I want to eat Popeye's chicken or I got Chick-fil-A down the street, I'm going to go eat my Popeye's chicken and Chick-fil-A. I don't even know what a trap house is. Now I know, but I don't really care. And then you know what Yale did? They said, well, 54% of our students are student of color. They're from India and China. Come on. That's their defense. I don't know if you read that. I'm saying that what a sick institution we have, Yale Law School. Best thing they should do is decredit it, get rid of it, and let's move on and put some decent lawyers out there. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Because Jeff, I'm coming to you with a bit of a twist on this one, and that is to say that look, this story is going to disseminate throughout the culture, and I'm not sure what lessons people are going to learn from it. But it could be true that there's a certain group out there that sees this as a model. That when something that is offensive, that they deem to be offensive to them, is spoken or uttered or somehow manifested, that the solution then is to file these complaints and then have the administration come in and seek redress from the individual and have them issue an apology or something. Is that the right model that we ought to be sending to those people that will never, ever become lawyers or leaders in the society? I mean, because they're just going to look up and they're going to say, hey, this is how Yale Law School handled it. I mean, Jeff, how do you look at that? Because is it the right model or not?
Not in my opinion, no. I agree with what Fernando said a minute ago, that if I don't want to shout anybody down, and if blacks feel that they've been denied a place at the table for years and years, I don't want to shout them down. I want them to be able to say anything they want. I just believe that if you don't like what somebody else says, it's not the remedy is not to go and tell on them to the teacher. The remedy is to use your own First Amendment rights and say, hey, no, I don't agree with that. I think that was wrong. When Todd Aiken made his comments years ago from my own party about abortion that I thought were ludicrous, I used my own platform on Facebook and elsewhere to say he should get out of the race. Now, he didn't take my suggestion, but it was my First Amendment right to do that. And it was his First Amendment right to say what he said. I wasn't going to have the government kick him out of the race. I just wanted him to voluntarily withdraw. And I think regardless of your perspective, I don't want you to be shouted down.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. And Adam, I'm coming to you, but this time, again, for perspective, and just allow me to tweak the facts here. I want to move away from Yale Law School, and I want to bring up another issue, another subject, just like actually following Jeff's lead. David Chappelle and the transgender kerfluffle that's going on, Adam. I mean, look, that's an example of, would you see that as a left-on-left canceling out? I mean, because now we have two underrepresented groups. Adam, how do you see that one?
I see it as another ridiculous situation. Dave Chappelle correctly pointed out that there are only two sexes, male and female.
Oh, okay. Fernando, succinct for the very first time. We're going Fernando.
Well, I mean, I didn't know you wanted me to explain. What happened is ridiculous.
Oh, okay, Nick already threw a flag. Nick, you're in.
Throw a flag. Okay, Adam. Okay, have to throw a flag on this one, Bill, because Adam is so wrong once again. There are hermaphrodites. There are people out there that actually are born with two sexes. So it's not like male, female. They've done research and said these people are both. Now, what do you do with them? I don't know. But
that's true. Like 0.01% of the population.
It's a very small percentage of the population. And the thing is, our religious groups, our other groups don't want to deal with that particular issue. And it's certainly an issue that does need to be dealt with, because scientifically you do have that very, very small group that in some cases the doctors have to make a decision.
Wait a second. Let me just explain this briefly. I mean, Dave Chappelle is speaking the truth. And that's the problem. The people on the left don't want to hear diverse opinions. They don't want to hear the truth or anything that conflicts with their narrative. They're the opposite of diversity. Dave Chappelle was right, and he was canceled for speaking the truth because it wasn't exactly what they wanted to hear. That's fascism.
Dave Chappelle.
That's today's left in this country.
Okay, well, apparently, Nick, you're learning a lot tonight.
I never heard of this guy, Dave Chappelle. Is he some right-wing person that you happen to listen to all the time?
He's a very prominent African-American comic that people.
I am not a
right-wing
or a left-winger. I believe in diversity and welcoming different perspectives from people of all races.
Then you want to hear guys like Dave Chappelle. Let him talk.
Okay. All right. Well, Adam, I just have one follow-up question because I just want to see if I can nail this down. Do you agree, as Fernando is, proposition, and that is that, in fact, both sides do it, that there's a cancel culture on the left and a cancel culture on the right? At least you would agree to that if we want to find common ground. Do you?
I think it exists everywhere on both sides, but I think we're seeing a prevalence of it on the left currently. Okay. You look at our school boards, you look at critical race theory, you look at safe spaces,
I'll call Liz Cheney to make sure.
But Bill, you're doing what the left does to its own. You're shutting up. You don't like what I say.
I'll call Liz Cheney and see if she agrees with you.
Guidry, I just wanted to get that small admission from Adam because I was trying to help you out because I think that you wanted both Adam and I to cross the peace bridge and find common ground. Isn't that what you wanted us to do? And stop attacking from the left and the right, Guidry?
So what I'm thinking, first of all, I don't think that truth is the indicator that we need to look when we decide on when society decides what can go on the TV and what should be turned off or eliminated, for the lack of a better word. I think that there are purposes for different purposes for speech and different audiences, different places, manner, time. When we have a person who's telling jokes and tells certain things that could be offensive to a lot of people, whether it is truth or not, as it was in this particular case with Chappelle, it's not sufficient for the whole series to be, taken off. As if you don't like what he says, if you don't like his sense of humor as it used to be in the past, you just don't listen to him and you don't watch him. And right now, when we started censoring views that we feel comfortable or not as comfortable, that's when we started having more problems. And I think that's really not good. We started not punishing unpopular speech, but right now we started hunting and punishing unpopular speakers. And that's where it goes back to that Yale student when the professors tell him, hey, you might not become an attorney or there might be some issues. So I think that there is history and pattern in that needs to be addressed.
Okay, Fernando, Dave Chappelle, the transgender community, does that change your viewpoint? And I'd like you to, if you do have an opinion on what Guidry is talking about, that it's changing from merely highlighting speech that should not be, declaring moral values for a society into a witch hunt to actually root thoughts that you disagree with out of society. Fernando?
No, I do agree with Guidry that what it's becoming now, it's targeting individuals to shut them up. And then when you shut them up, it has a chilling effect on anybody else that wants to say something. In terms of Dave Chappelle, who, by the way, got his start at a comedy night at Fordham University when he was a street comic at Washington Square Park.
The bloody New Yorker.
He was excellent back then. Actually, he's from Arizona and Ohio, I remember his original routine. What we're getting into now is the Chicken Little effect. The minute somebody says something, right away the sky is falling. We got to hunt them down and shut them up. Eventually, what that's going to have is the boy who cried wolf. Nobody's going to listen. The point of comedy is to point things out in society, make fun of them, and get you to think. And if you're going to have comedians, if you're going to start hunting down comedians too, and start silencing comedy, then really what's going to be left for people to speak and say and bring out alternatives? When Dave Chappelle was standing up there making fun of white people, there wasn't anybody saying a goddamn word. Now, all of a sudden, he makes a transgender joke. All of a sudden, they get their fake boobies in an uproar and they have an issue. I'm Netflix. I tell them, listen, quit and go find another job. I'm not canceling the series. Get your panties out of your behind, get a spine and deal with it.
Okay. Nick, Jeff, I'm coming to you, and then Adam, I'm circling back around. Nick, please. Fernando, obviously, it's a clear opinion.
I mean, I don't watch this guy, so I don't even know who the heck he is and what he's talking about.
Okay, well,
I did.
Nick. No, Nick.
What?
Then let me give you a comedian, perhaps that you might, I know we remember Richard Pryor, and
Yeah, I do
Pryor,
remember. Right.
Flip Wilson. Okay.
Yeah, I know Flip. Remember him, right?
Okay, fine. Then let's go. And people have to look up Flip Wilson. But go ahead, Nick. I mean, it's the same kind of genre. I mean,
Okay. So this guy's a comedian who's cracking jokes. Who gives a rat's rear what he's talking about? But I did frame the issue for tonight, which I think is going to be pretty good. That we'll vote on later on. Here's the issue: should Yale Law School be reprimanded for attacking free speech? Now, notice what we're doing is we're attacking the sacred cow of Yale Law School, one of those prominent institutions in America that never does anything wrong. But we can do that on the Lawyer's Den because we believe in free speech. So that'll be the issue we're going to vote on later on today.
Okay, duly noted. Jeff, Dave Chappelle, Flip Wilson, Richard Pryor, hell, even Eddie Murphy. I mean, does the fact that it's comedy, and then does that change your opinion of the situation now that we've taken the same themes and stuck it over and into entertainment? Jeff? Earphones, Jeff. Okay.
I don't believe that Dave Chappelle was canceled because by any action of the government. So I'm not going to suggest there's a First Amendment issue there. I do suggest it as an issue of the cancel culture, though, and yeah, it changes my view a little bit that it's comedy because, for one thing, comedy is almost by definition a little irreverent. It makes fun of everybody. It's kind of an equal opportunity offender. And when you can't make fun of anybody, I don't know how you can have a comedy show. The second thing I would say, we recently had in the NFL the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, John Gruden. I guess they're the Las Vegas Raiders now.
Yeah.
Get fired, basically get pushed out because in private emails more than 10 years ago, he used some insensitive language about certain players and their race. Just in terms of our cancel culture, I mean, I don't believe in racist language. I don't believe that we as a society should just accept it. But my concern is, why don't we allow people to grow? Why don't we allow people to change? If you can't find a racist remark he made in the last 10 years, I mean, he hasn't even been the coach of the Raiders for that long, although he was a couple years ago. But
okay, point made. But Jeff, I just want to get you on the record on this. The example of Liz Cheney that was brought up earlier. Would you see that as an example of cancel culture within the Republican Party? Yes or no?
Can you repeat the incident?
Okay, Liz Cheney took a position that she was at odds versus former President Donald Trump. And so there was a groundswell in the Republican caucus, and then they removed Liz Cheney from her.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, do you think that was an example of cancel culture on the right? Yes or no?
Not really, not in the same way, because a leadership position in the House of Representatives or in the Senate, for that matter, it is a political job, and you're supposed to reflect the will of your constituent members. And if Liz Cheney didn't reflect the views of her constituent members, then they have the right to replace her.
Okay.
The same way that if we don't like something that our congressman is saying, we can vote them out in the next election.
Okay, Deidre, Jeff's example of John Gruden and the Las Vegas Raiders and all of those emails from 10 years ago that people complained about, or actually that gotten terminated. How do you think about John Gruden's example in cancel culture?
I agree completely with Jeff. I think that it's bizarre. There is such a thing as growing. Very well said. And I like how Jeff said, if nothing racist happened in the past 10, 15 years, 5 years, why to attack someone? Why to punish someone? Why to destroy someone's life? But you see, there is an example. It almost seems like that's the only way that this new generation, young generation, could fight for the, against the racism or for social equality, for whatever other moral reason, it seems that they pick a person and then write tons of letters, make different tweets and different arguments to the employers, to producers, whatever it is that those people are associated with, and then they get those people fired. And it's not the only story. And I think that that's really been too widely applied, and we need to change it. It's absolutely illogical, in my opinion. And before that, I will say, in a lot of cases, people do that. Masses do that on social media, even without knowing the details about it. One statement or one side or one picture could completely destroy someone's life. So yes, there is a freedom of speech, but then there are no freedom of no consequences. So both ways.
Okay, Adam, I guess the question to you, and then Fernando, I'm coming to you. But Adam, electronic lynch mob in the John Gruden affair. What are your thoughts? John Gruden, cancel culture or rightfully terminated? Electronic lynch mob, what, Adam?
People make mistakes in their life, and they're entitled to be forgiven, and they're entitled to change. We need to start looking at people as individuals and showing compassion. I mean, Bill, to be honest with you, you're the one who's always talking about race, not me. You're the one who's always saying that African Americans are systemically oppressed. You're the one that's always saying that the whites are oppressors. But I never hear you criticize diversity training where they say whites are privileged, whiteness is a bad thing, and engage in other stereotypical activities. That approach is racist in and of itself. And quite frankly, I'm going to quote Morgan Freeman. The way to get beyond racism is to stop talking about it. We're all individuals and deserve respect, and diversity means respecting individuals, their backgrounds, and all of their qualities.
Excellent. And I would just simply say, before I get to you, Fernando, point well made, Adam, as the inheritor of 400 years of privilege. Fernando?
I didn't inherit a damn thing. My parents worked their asses off to provide for their kids. And I take offense at your comment.
Fernando has the floor. Please. Fernando?
Yeah, in terms of Gruden, 100% lynch mob. The fact is that he made these statements. He made these statements 10 years ago. He was an employee of ESPN. He wasn't even working for the NFL, which is why they couldn't discipline him. It's why they couldn't fire him, because he didn't do anything when he was working for the Shield. And the truth is, the comments that he made about the comments were about the lawyer who was running the NFLPA. One was about his lips, which yes, that was racist. But the other one was calling him stupid. And the truth of the matter is the guy's an idiot. He is one of the worst labor lawyers that has ever headed a sports union ever. The deal that he cut for the NFL was for the NFL players, horrendous. So yeah, he had every right to call him a dummy. And they were private emails that were discovered because of the issues going on with the Washington Redskins that refused to call them football team, with the Washington Redskins and the problems in their front office with sexual harassment. And then I think it was the Washington Post who decided to leak them just for the hell of it.
Okay, well, we don't know, Fernando, who leaked what, but I hear your point. Okay, what I want to do quickly is, Nick, can we get what we're going to be getting people to vote? There we are.
This is the issue. Should Yale Law School, one of our sacred cows, be reprimanded for attacking free speech?
Okay, we're going to go right around the horn, starting at the bottom. Adam, yes or no? Punishment or no?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Next, Fernando, should they be punished, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Deidre?
Yes, consequences.
Okay. Jeff?
Oh, he's muted.
I'm reprimanding them right now. Should they be reprimanded further? Yes. Will they be? Probably not.
Okay. Nick, that leaves it up to you, but I'm going to allow you the pleasure, because we are reaching that hour where we have to land this plane. But before we do, you happen to have the last word, Nick, and I'd like to hear what you have to say about John Gruden, the NFL electronic lynch mob.
You know, we need to do a whole program on John Gruden, Bill, because the thing is, that was a complete lynch mob, but we'll have to get that later. However, this is going to be a rare time on the lawyer's debt. I actually agree with Adam. Yale Law School should be reprimanded. The decision is 5-0. Go after that sacred cow. Go for it now.
Okay. Okay, well, for those of you that joined the Lawyer's Den, once again, we welcome you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, from wherever you are in the world and whenever you happen to catch us. I will hand it over to Nick. Listen, on behalf of our audience, Jeff, thank you. Guidry, always a pleasure. Fernando, keeping up that Fordham connection. And Adam, my professor of such astute wisdom, world traveler, thank you once again for joining us. Nick, you have the controls.
It's been a hard day today, Bill. I had to agree with Adam. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. We'll see you next time on Lawyer's Den. And Guidry goes, let's go look at something that took place 40 years ago. Who cares? Okay, that's political.